They overruled my prescription to save $47. My patient was an 8-year-old boy with a severe allergy. I prescribed the safe medication. The hospital's cost-cutting software blocked it. And when I fought back, they threatened to fire me. So I administered what they forced me to give. The boy went into anaphylactic shock. And when his father arrived at the hospital, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, looking like any exhausted parent, nobody knew he owned 51% of the hospital. Not until it was too late. But before I tell you about the moment the CFO's face went white, about the emergency board meeting that ended with security escorting executives out of the building, about becoming the youngest CEO in the hospital's history, let me take you back to the beginning. To the day I had to choose between my job and a child's life. My name is Dr. Adrian Cross. I'm 32 years old, chief of pediatrics at Riverside Memorial Hospital in Boston. And this is the story of how trying to save $47 cost them everything. I've been at Riverside for 6 years. Started as a resident, worked my way up. Youngest department chief in hospital history. I earned it through long hours, difficult cases, and one non-negotiable principle: patient safety above everything. Everything. That principle would cost me my job, and then give me theirs. It was a Tuesday morning in March. Cold rain. Typical Boston weather. I was reviewing patient charts when my pager went off. New admission. Pediatric ICU. 8-year-old male. Severe pneumonia. I headed up to PICU. The boy was in room 304. Small for his age, struggling to breathe, oxygen mask covering half his face. His chart said his name was Leo Sterling. Mother had brought him in at 6 a.m. Father was traveling for business on his way back. I examined Leo. His lungs were in bad shape. Bilateral pneumonia, significant inflammation. He needed aggressive antibiotic treatment immediately. I reviewed his medical history carefully. That's when I saw it. Buried in his allergy list. Severe reaction to polyethylene glycol. PEG. It's a preservative used in many generic medications. Most doctors miss it. It's rare, but it's deadly if you give it to someone who's allergic. I wrote my prescription carefully. Zithromax, brand name formulation. No PG. Safe for Leo. Cost, $347 per dose. He needs 6 doses. The generic version cost $300. Total, for all 6 doses. Difference, about $2,000 total. I submitted the order to pharmacy. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Dr. Cross? This is pharmacy. Your Zithromax order was flagged by the cost management system. There's a generic equivalent available. We need approval to proceed with brand name. The patient is allergic to PEG. The generic contains it. Brand name doesn't. That's not optional. I understand, but the system requires CFO approval for any brand name medication when a generic exists. Then get me the CFO. He's in a budget meeting until get him now. This patient needs antibiotics in the next hour or his condition will deteriorate. 30 minutes passed. Leo's oxygen saturation was dropping. His mother, Sarah Sterling, held his hand, terrified. Finally, my phone rang again. Dr. Cross? Marcus Caldwell, CFO. I understand you're trying to order an expensive brand name medication. Marcus Caldwell, 56 years old, MBA from Harvard, former hospital administrator, now CFO. He'd been at Riverside for 8 months, brought in to optimize operational efficiency, which meant cutting costs wherever possible. Mr. Caldwell, my patient has a documented severe allergy to PEG. The generic antibiotic contains PEG. The brand name doesn't. This isn't a preference. It's medical necessity. I've reviewed the case. PEG allergies occur in approximately 0.01% of the population. The likelihood of severe reaction is 100% in this patient because he's already documented as allergic. That's why it's in his chart. Dr. Cross, I appreciate your caution, but we've implemented new cost management protocols. Brand name medications require documented failure of generic alternatives before approval. We don't have time for that. His pneumonia is severe. Every hour without antibiotics increases mortality risk. Then administer the generic and monitor for reactions. If a reaction occurs, we'll escalate. My hand tightened around the phone. Mr. Caldwell, monitoring for a reaction means waiting for this child to go into anaphylactic shock. That's not medicine. That's malpractice. That's the policy. If you refuse to follow hospital protocol, we'll find someone who will. Are you threatening to fire me? I'm reminding you that hospital policy exists for a reason. Administer the generic, or I'll have another physician take over the case. He hung up. I stood there, phone in hand, rage and helplessness flooding through me. I had 3 options. 1, refuse. Get fired. Another doctor takes over who might not know about the allergy. 2, keep fighting. Waste hours while Leo deteriorates. Probably still lose. 3, give the generic. Hope I can manage the reaction when it happens. All 3 options were terrible. I made the only choice that kept me in control of what happened next. I called pharmacy. Administer the generic. But I want an anaphylaxis kit in his room. Epinephrine, antihistamines, steroids. Everything. Now. Dr. Cross, are you sure? Do it. 20 minutes later, the nurse administered the first dose of generic antibiotic. I stayed in the room, watching, waiting. Leo's mother noticed. Dr. Cross, is something wrong? I should have told her. I should have explained everything. But if I did, and she refused the medication, Caldwell would have me removed from the case. And whoever replaced me might not catch the reaction in time. Just monitoring carefully, I said. Pneumonia can be unpredictable. That was the moment I became complicit in the hospital's negligence. The moment I chose damage control over transparency. I'll regret it for the rest of my life. 12 minutes after administration, Leo's oxygen saturation dropped from 94% to 87%. 15 minutes, hives appeared on his chest. 17 minutes, his throat started swelling. Code blue, I shouted. Nurses rushed in. I already had the epinephrine in my hand. I injected it directly into his thigh. Called for intubation kit. His airway was closing. Sarah was screaming. Security had to remove her from the room. I intubated Leo myself. His throat was so swollen I could barely see the vocal cords. I got the tube in on the second attempt. Push steroids. More epinephrine. Antihistamines. For 6 minutes, I fought to keep that child alive. Finally, his vitals stabilized. Oxygen sat came back up. Heart rate normalized. He was alive. Barely. I ordered transfer to intensive care. Full monitoring. He needed to stay intubated for at least 24 hours. As they wheeled him out, I stood in that empty room, shaking. From adrenaline. From rage. From a knowledge that I'd just watched a completely preventable near-death experience. I walked out to update Sarah. She was in the waiting room, destroyed. Is he alive? He's alive. He's stable. But he had a severe allergic reaction to the medication. The medication you gave him? Yes. But his chart says he's allergic. Did you not see it? This was the moment. Tell the truth or protect the hospital. I chose truth. I saw it. I prescribed the safe medication. The hospital blocked my order to save money. They forced me to give the generic that contained the allergen. Sarah's face changed from fear to fury. They what? Before I could answer, Marcus Caldwell appeared. Mrs. Sterling, I'm Marcus Caldwell, Chief Financial Officer. I want to assure you we're doing everything. You're the one who blocked the safe medication? Caldwell's smooth expression flickered. Mrs. Sterling, medical decisions are complex. Sometimes protocols. My son almost died because you wanted to save money. We're prepared to comp your parking and get away from me. Sarah's voice was ice. Before I say something I'll regret. Caldwell retreated, but he caught my eye. The look said, you're done. An hour later, I was called to the administrator's office. Present, Caldwell, hospital CEO Linda Morrison, legal counsel. Dr. Cross, Morrison began, we need to discuss what happened with the Sterling boy. He nearly died because you overruled my medical judgment to save $47. Caldwell jumped in. You violated hospital protocol by prescribing brand name without proper authorization. I followed medical protocol. You followed accounting protocol. They're not the same thing. Morrison, Dr. Cross, we need to present a united front. The family's upset. We're classifying this incident as an unexpected complication of severe pneumonia, not a medication reaction. I stared at her. You want to lie in the medical records? We want to contextualize events appropriately to avoid unnecessary litigation. Leo Sterling went into anaphylactic shock from a medication I told you he was allergic to. That's not contextualization. That's cover-up. Caldwell. Dr. Cross, you're being terminated effective immediately for insubordination and violation of hospital policy. You're firing me for being right. We're firing you for refusing to be a team player. I was escorted out by security. 6 years. Gone in one afternoon. I drove home in shock. Called my lawyer. Started planning wrongful termination suits. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Dr. Cross? This is Sarah Sterling, Leo's mother. Can we meet? Of course. How is Leo? Stable. Extubated this morning. He'll recover fully. Her voice broke. Thanks to you. We met at a coffee shop near the hospital. Sarah wasn't alone. A man was with her. Early 40s, jeans, t-shirt, running shoes. Looked exhausted. Had to be Leo's father. Dr. Cross. This is my husband, Arthur Sterling. We shook hands. His grip was firm. His eyes were sharp despite the exhaustion. Dr. Cross, my wife told me everything. You saved my son's life. I almost killed him by giving him medication I knew he was allergic to. Under duress. Under threat of termination. That's not an excuse. Arthur studied me. No, it's not. But it's context. And it tells me you're honest. He slid a folder across the table. Inside, my termination letter from Riverside. How'd he get that? I made some calls, Arthur said. Found out you were fired this morning. For insubordination. For refusing to lie in medical records. I also found out something interesting about Riverside Memorial Hospital. He showed me documents. Corporate filings. Stock certificates. 2 weeks ago, my company, Sterling Vanguard Group, acquired 51% of Riverside Memorial Hospital. We're expanding into healthcare real estate and operations. My stomach dropped. You're the majority shareholder. I own that hospital, and I came to Boston specifically to see how my money was being invested. In jeans and a t-shirt. I like to see how organizations treat people when they don't know they're being watched. It's revealing. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling an emergency board meeting. Right now. And you're coming with me. 40 minutes later, we were back at Riverside. In the executive boardroom. Present. Entire hospital board. Marcus Caldwell. Linda Morrison. Legal team. They looked confused. Annoyed at being pulled from their schedules. Then Arthur walked in, and their expressions changed. Mr. Sterling. Morrison stood quickly. We weren't expecting, sit down, Linda. The room went silent. Arthur remained standing. I'm going to tell you a story. Yesterday, my 8-year-old son was admitted to this hospital with pneumonia. The doctor, Dr. Cross here, correctly identified a severe allergy and prescribed appropriate medication. Caldwell opened his mouth. Arthur cut him off with a look. Your CFO overruled that prescription to save $47. My son was given medication that nearly killed him. Dr. Cross saved his life. And this morning, you fired Dr. Cross for refusing to lie about what happened. Morrison, Mr. Sterling, there are complexities you might not understand. I understand that you value $47 more than my son's life. I understand that you fired the only person who tried to protect him. And I understand exactly what kind of hospital I've invested in. He turned to Caldwell. You're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Caldwell went white. You can't. I own 51% of this hospital. I can do whatever I want. Security. 2 guards appeared. Caldwell was walked out, sputtering protests. Arthur turned to Morrison. Linda, you have 2 options. Resign now with severance, or be terminated for cause and face legal action for fraudulent medical documentation. Morrison's hand shook. I resign. Smart choice. Leave your keys and badge. He addressed the rest of the board. Anyone else who was involved in the decision to overrule Dr. Cross's prescription or cover up the incident, you're done. Leave now or wait for your termination letters. 3 board members stood and left. Arthur turned to me. Dr. Cross, effective immediately, you're reinstated as Chief of Pediatrics, with a 300% salary increase. I couldn't speak. Additionally, you're named interim CEO while we search for permanent leadership. Your primary mandate, restore medical decision-making authority to physicians. No administrator can override clinical judgment for financial reasons ever again. He slid a contract across the table. You'll report directly to me. You'll have veto power over any policy that affects patient safety. And you'll rebuild this hospital the right way. I looked at the contract, at the salary, at the authority. Why me? Because when everyone else chose money, you chose my son. That's the kind of person I want running my hospital. I signed. That was 8 months ago. Today, I'm CEO of Riverside Memorial Hospital. At 32 years old, I've implemented new policies. All allergy alerts are mandatory. No cost-cutting software can override physician orders. Brand name medications are approved automatically when medically indicated. I've fired 12 administrators who valued spreadsheets over patients. I've hired 43 new staff focused on clinical excellence. Our patient satisfaction scores are up 40%. Our medical error rate is down 60%. And our profitability? Up 35%. Turns out when you take care of patients properly, they come back. They refer others. Your reputation grows. Excellence is expensive, but it pays for itself. Marcus Caldwell never worked in healthcare again. Last I heard, he's consulting for retail chains. Leo Sterling made a full recovery. He's 9 now. His parents bring him to visit sometimes. He wants to be a doctor when he grows up. Arthur Sterling became our largest investor. He's poured $50 million into facility upgrades, new equipment, research programs. And I've learned something that every healthcare administrator should know. The customer you cheat today might be the owner who fires you tomorrow. Caldwell looked at an 8-year-old boy and saw a cost center, an opportunity to save $47. I looked at that same boy and saw a life worth protecting at any cost. That difference in perspective cost Caldwell his career and gave me mine. So here's what I tell every new hire at Riverside. We don't practice medicine by spreadsheet. We don't choose profit over patients. We don't compromise care to boost numbers. Because the moment you start making medical decisions based on accounting, you stop being a hospital. You become a business that happens to house sick people. And that's not what we are. Real power isn't in cutting costs to boost a balance sheet. It's in delivering such undeniable value that people trust you with their lives. Excellence is expensive, but negligence costs everything. They tried to save $47. It cost them the entire hospital. I spent $2,000 on the medication Leo actually needed. It earned me a hospital. That's the difference between cost and value. And if you can't tell them apart, you shouldn't be making decisions about either.